Hey fellow lost souls, welcome back to the 10th World. On this channel, I discuss the factions that design, engineer, and build the worlds that we explore in our games, movies, and stories. Today I'm going to talk about clothing, and why we dress as we do here in the 10th World. Most of our clothing is functional. It's to protect us or keep us warm. This is true in the world of Midgard in the past, and now. As a warning, this video does contain spoilers for the story of Valheim. Alright, let's get into it. We stand on the precipice of war, dressed for battle with our sword or spear or axe in hand. We trust in the metal, leather, and cloth covering our body to withstand the weapons of our enemy. At least, we trust them to do so for long enough that we can close the distance and strike with our own blades. Our helmet obscures our hearing and narrows our vision, but it'll stop a blade from blinding us. Our mail pinches where it passes over our thick clothing beneath it and kinks up at the joints sometimes, but it'll prevent a fatal wound at close quarters from felling us. Our shield is thick and heavy. It prevents the storm of arrows from reaching us as we advance. We peer over its edge to see that we're getting close. Our cloak and tunic are thick woven and keep the cold wind from piercing us, the rain from freezing us to our bones. The runes carved and sewn into our clothing and armor will bring the favor of gods upon us, will destroy our enemy, and bring us victory. Our greatest defense, though, is still susceptible to failure. An arrow passes our shield in just the right spot, or a spear thrust at just the correct height to strike where our armor is not strong enough. We fall in battle, and then, to our surprise, we wake. We're in the 10th World, and all that we had is gone. It didn't come with us in death. We have to fight our way through the challenges of this world, and while we can't remember that fight that struck us down, we remember its lessons well enough. We'll have to clothe ourselves, and the monsters we face here are far stronger than those that we left behind. We'll need to be prepared, but first, we have to find something to keep off the freezing wind and soaking rain. It's time to start hunting. We drape ourselves in garments made from patterned and colored cloth, intricately woven, knitted, and sewn together. The magic of weaving has been with us since times long out of our collective memory, and in that time has developed into a craft that shapes the way we live today. The weavers among the ancient people held power as well. Their art was an essential and, paradoxically, an often overlooked part of their culture. While we must piece together our information from scattered remains of records and bits of cloth found in areas settled by the Norse people, we have discovered some of their secrets. They traveled over the sea and brought with them fabrics of wool and flax woven on large looms with weighted threads. They had to find local sources of fiber when they began to settle, and these they obtained from the native species of animals and plants. With their skills and knowledge, they rendered these materials into thread and yarn to create garments that were practical and decorative and, depending on your disposition, comfortable. They used wooden looms as we still do today when weaving by hand. They had the knowledge of a form of knitting called knoll binding, which they brought from their homelands. Their most skilled weavers could produce complex patterns of weft and warp. These could make cloth move, fold, and drape in desirable ways. These techniques gave them the tools to practice their most important occupation. The sailors and explorers would have been stuck rowing across the sea if the skill to make sailcloth had not been known. Sails must be made using very specific techniques that keep them light but strong. Not any cloth will do. Their clothing was often dyed in blues or reds with materials found nearby. It's likely these colors would fade more quickly than those we can make today. They may not have had a wide variety of colors, though they used what they had in many artful ways. When we wake in the 10th World, we will see a world of vibrant colors, from green grass to red and blue fruits to the glowing magic in the eyes of our enemies. We will not be able to take advantage of these materials to color our clothing as skillfully as our ancestors, though our focus is on honing ourselves for battle rather than impressing the Forsaken with our fashion. We begin our journey in Valheim nearly naked, cold, and confused. Often, our only companion is a talking raven, a strange merchant, and a bog witch to guide us. We'll no doubt begin to cover ourselves in clothes roughly sewn from leather scraps and skins. These we'll find easily, killing and hunting various creatures. As we grow stronger and our weapons sharper, we'll begin to hunt larger animals, and their skins will give us better coverings. From these hides, we can craft armor and a cape that'll protect us further from both the elements and the blades, claws, and fangs of our enemies. We'll find trolls who can flatten us into the dirt if we're not careful. Hunting them gives us their skin to make armor much stronger. Their blue skin offers some color to our wardrobe as well. We'll hunt wolves up in the mountains, and from their fur, make clothing and armor that'll protect us from the cold and strike fear into our enemies. We will, in time, learn to use other materials to craft our clothing, such as bark and wood, or bronze and iron, from which we can create strong armor that helps us from being slashed and cut to pieces by monsters. We can skin the mighty lox in the plains, and from their pelts make a strong cloak as well. In time, we learn the craft of spinning, and with a wheel, we can spin flax we find in the fueling villages into linen. Linen is strong, and once woven into padded armors and capes in many colors, it'll protect us from all kinds of dangers. While we're here in Valheim though, we will find time to celebrate many of our traditions as we did in life. At Yule time, we may buy from our merchant friend Haldor a Yule hat. Warm and seasonal, it'll keep the frost from our ears as we drink our mead in celebration. During the strange time of year, when the Halloween season comes, we can make a pointed hat and scare our companions, if we feel like doing such a thing. Of course, a thing that will help us greatly in the darkness of the 10th world is light, and while we can carry a torch in our hand or light a brazier in our drinking hall, we might find it more convenient to purchase from Haldor the Dvergr circlet, a source of blue light that we can always carry with us. Of course, we must be practical, and battle's not the only challenge we'll face in this place. Such was the case with our ancestors, who had to overcome many dangers, from cold and mud to insect stings and poisoned plants. The Norse people explored much of the world in the Viking Age, and so found new climates and environments in lands far distant from their homes. The skills in crafting clothes to weather these conditions that they brought with them kept them alive in times of hardship. It seems that they had the skill of dressing in layers. The fabrics they crafted were often heavier and so were well suited to colder conditions. Among the common clothes, they would wear tunics and pants with jackets to keep them warm, slips and longer tunics made from linen and wool. They wore these in layer upon layer during the cold seasons. Cloaks and hoods made from cloth or hide kept the rain and snow from their skin, and they wore leather boots lined with fur or thick leather shoes to protect their feet. Fur was often used to insulate outerwear and keep the frost from doing its nasty work. In the 10th world, we face many of these same problems, though there are others as well. Troll and drake attacks being more common here than in the worlds explored by our ancestors. I hope, at least. In Valheim, we first find ourselves in a land that doesn't seem to change much. This is one thing about being dead that works well in our favor. Living things change more quickly than dead ones, and so it is with their worlds as well. The meadows tend to remain grassy and livable, though that's not to say that we don't face some challenges from that environment. Wind can whip at our skin as it bends the grass and creaks the boughs of trees. It may come from across the ocean or down from the space between worlds. Who knows in this place, save for Odin himself. The rain also strikes us and soaks our skin and clothes, slowing us and making it difficult to regain our strength and stamina. We can do little to mitigate this effect, though covering ourselves in hides and armor will increase our chances of survival should we encounter an enemy. We'll need to learn how to venture high up into the mountains as well, and here we'll face icy winds and frozen snow. Simple rags nor thin leathers will protect us from these hazards. We'll learn to make armor and clothing from the furs of the beasts that live in these harsh environments like our ancestors did and prevent the winter from taking our toes and fingers, and prevent us succumbing too quickly to the drakes and their freezing breath. The hides of trolls fashioned into a cape and armor will help us sneak through the world, a valuable skill while hunting. Poisons will also weaken or kill us quickly if we're not prepared to face them. Fire also is a danger if we're not careful to avoid its burning us. With armor made from ancient bark and roots, we can protect ourselves from the worst of these dangers. Perhaps the dangers that our ancestors faced were not so different from our own in this time and place. Armor plates and heavy leather are our friends in extreme conditions, though we can't wear these things at all times. It wouldn't be practical. Life in the ancient world required heavy physical labor and lots of movement. From hunting and fighting, shipbuilding, carpentry, blacksmithing, to farming and processing food for cooking or storage. Clothing designed for these purposes had to be practical and easily repaired. Lighter layers were often worn close to the body. These might be made from linen. Heavier wool clothes were worn over these. Sources of information on the subject are unclear on many of the details, and cloth doesn't preserve well over time, but we have some examples that we can go by. How can we discuss these with any certainty? Well, for one thing, the needs of these professions have not changed so greatly even now. Those working outdoors would need warm layers of fabric in winter and loose, breathable fabrics in the summer or in warmer environments. Carpenters and builders would have needed flexible clothing that didn't interfere with their work but was durable enough to withstand rigorous labor. Those who worked with fire, such as metalsmiths, required fabrics that would resist fire, as today we avoid those that melt under heat in these conditions for safety reasons. Clothes worn daily should also be comfortable and allow the wearer to relax when not engaged in work. And clothing worn by warriors had to be thick to protect them from the metal of their own armor, such as chain or scaled leather, which would pinch and chafe the body. Having spoken much about the need to arm ourselves with leather, wood, metal, and other materials, I think it would be useful to talk about what sorts of armor can be made and worn in the 10th world. These pieces must be strong enough to protect us not just against the swords and spears of our fellow travelers, but also against the fearsome weapons of the Forsaken and the other monsters of these lands. I've spoken about leather, hides, and rags earlier, and these will serve us well earlier in our journey. They'll quickly fail to protect us from the more dangerous challenges ahead, though. We have to master many materials and their powers if we're to survive survive the Forsaken and make our way to Valhalla. Apart from the skins, bones, and other assorted viscera of defeated enemies, we must learn to work metal to fortify our clothing. We'll learn to smelt bronze, and from it we'll cast plates and scales that we can attach to hides to produce an armored tunic and pants. It can also be used to make a helmet that greatly increases our protection. We'll also find materials like pieces of chain that we can incorporate with other materials such as wolf pelts to strengthen our armor. Once we learn the secrets of iron, we can produce shirts and pants covered in hard iron scales, which will fortify us greatly, though its weight may cause us to move more slowly. This is not a problem if we're skilled in combat. Suits of padded linen and iron plates give us greater protection. We'll begin to find creatures whose natural armors and scales are stronger than iron, and from these we can make carapace armor, sturdy and dependable. Flametal armor will protect us against fire and heat, a vital necessity if we face enemies who can use these elements against us. There are other benefits to be obtained by the use of magical materials in the crafting of armor, and I'll discuss these shortly. Before I do, I should speak about the gods. Their stories were and are important in the shaping of the cultures of our ancestors. The powers of the Aesir, the gods, as well as the monsters that inhabit the legends of old, could do many things. Their skills and knowledge gave them strength and abilities beyond those apportioned to mortals. One-eyed Odin walked the mist-shrouded lands disguised in a cloak of grey. He went about in this way and observed the worlds and their inhabitants. Thor, the god of thunder and storms, a hero of the Aesir who wielded the hammer Mjolnir, also wore a belt and gloves that gave him power and strength. The goddess Freya wore a cloak of feathers, often borrowed by other gods and heroes so that they could either impersonate her or use it to fly to distant places. Mortals could rarely aspire to the deeds of their gods, but calling on these powers with rituals and clothing or jewelry inscribed to honor them could potentially tap into their stories and help them in their lives. Then, as now, a person often dresses in a way that honors their cultural heritage, but also to express a message about themselves. Maybe they wear an expensive piece of clothing to show their wealth, maybe a particular style of shirt to show their status in society. As I've said, the Norse wore clothing made from many textiles. Linen and wool were very common, though often they produce or procure finer materials for one reason or another. They were explorers and warriors, but traders also, and made many alliances in distant lands. Cloths such as silk were imported and worn for pleasure, or as a means to show off. The magic we might gain from dressing a certain way in the 10th world is much greater than what is available to us in the realm of Midgard. We will need it to fulfill our purpose here. As we progress, we'll have need of even greater power. We'll discover the magical properties of the elements and the substance known as Aether. Aether is something we carry within us, and we use it when we use magical items. If we expect to keep using these powers, however, we must keep it from running out. We'll learn to craft the Aether weave armor, which will increase the rate at which our Aether regenerates. This will be essential in the fights to come. We, like the Aesir, may make a cloak of feathers. It won't let us fly, though we won't suffer damage from falling from high places. The Ambla armor is much like the Aether weave, though it's more powerful in this regard, regenerating more of our Aether. The Ask set will reduce our loss of stamina while doing different activities like running and leaping. The Askvin cape likewise reduces our loss of stamina during movement, while the Ashen cape does so during combat. I mentioned earlier Thor's belt of strength. Well, we may buy such an item from Haldor the merchant. Its name is Megingjord. We can find and wear a bone taken from the Forsaken known as Bone Mass, which will reveal secrets to us, and the Wisplight taken from captured wisps, which will help us through the mists and the mistlands. Many things were given to those who had passed into death that they might wear them in the afterlife, a luxury that we were not afforded. Great kings in the Viking Age might be given a ship to be burned with the trappings of their wealth and bodies of their servants, that these things might remain with them on their journey into the next world. These practices were less common in later times, and were given to those with power. Those who were not invested with the trappings of kingship, though, were honored no less by those close to them. Items of clothing worn into death often represented the best that they might be given for their own trip. The dead were most often dressed in new clothing made for this purpose. The dead would be buried with their silken clothes if they had any, or given expensive vessels to drink from, or to hold the wine they would no doubt enjoy in Folkvanger or Valhalla. One might be buried with the trappings of their profession so that they could continue their craft in death. Warriors might be buried with weapons and armor to show their bravery in battle, and they were often sent off with stories of their deeds to amuse those who mourned and to impress the gods they would soon meet. In the 10th world, we face many beings who have been sent here for one reason or another. The most powerful Forsaken must be summoned, but other monsters can be found guarding their own lairs. Some are as beasts. They wear no clothing and attack with claws and teeth. Others, though, bear weapons, armor, even trinkets which must have come with them or been fashioned here for them in some capacity. This is a land of the dead, and here the dead carry with them the trappings of life, as we send our own dead away with the same. Among the Forsaken we have to summon and defeat, Yagluth appears to wear such an object. We do not know who he was before he came to this place. Only Odin knows that, but he wears a crown of some kind. He must have been a king or ruler in some distant world long ago. We don't know where, though. The mighty skeleton, Brenna, wields a sword infused with fire. Where she obtained this item is unknown, though it may have come with her here. Gerhafa is a cursed being who wears a tattered cloak. Where it came from, we likewise do not know. Thungr, who fights with Zil on his back, is armored with bones and leather. Lord Rito wears a dark helmet and armor, and carries with him the hilt of a magical sword. Skeletons will attack us armed with what weapons they presumably were sent here with, and then the Draugr, undead warriors wearing the remains of their armor and weapons sent with them into the afterlife. The dead, who cling to the trappings of life, often remain here, rotting away. We must not let this be our fate. Clothing and armor have developed in our own world, as we've encountered challenges and formed cultural traditions. They're important to us, in life and in death. Those who enter the 10th world will need to clothe themselves, but also to use the powers and resources in that world to help them survive and succeed against the Forsaken. Clothing is more than just for survival, it shows others how we think and feel. The materials from which we make our clothes are telling as well. They can express great wealth or status, or great skill. They can also make clothing more functional or more comfortable. We here on Midgard can only know in stories what awaits us beyond death. We do our best to be prepared to face those things, and those who love us try to send us off with what they think will be most useful. Gods and monsters are fickle though, and those by whose power we came to Valheim left us only with what we need to prove ourselves worthy. We do not remember the battles, nor the life we left behind. We do not truly know what awaits us at the end of our journey, though we can hope. We know only what's before us now. Dark forests, frozen mountains, magical places, dark tombs, and uncountable enemies. We'll have to dress accordingly. So those are my thoughts on fashion, both in and out of the 10th world. Why we wear what we wear, and how we try and look cool. I want to thank you all for watching. I appreciate everyone who sticks around. If you liked the video, please hit like. And if you don't want your armor smelling like troll, hit subscribe. If you think I missed anything or want to discuss, let me know in the comments down below. Oh, and before you go, I want to give a shout out to my patrons who help support the channel. Our $10 patron is Washuki at the artisan level. If you want to get your name in the credits, head on over and sign up. The Patreon link's in the description. You'll get access to an exclusive Discord server as well. And remember, don't let the Dvergr laugh at your clothes. They may not fit right, but hey, you made them yourself. Alright, thanks everyone. Bye, Internet.